to Wisdom Wednesday. I am Anel Lee, your host, bringing you raw and authentic wisdom. Tonight I'm going to be talking about a very touchy topic, domestic violence. So if you have little ears listening, I advise you to not play this around them. Most of you have been seeing the Cassie and Diddy incident that has been in the news for the past couple of months. It all started a few months ago when Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy, reporting that she had been abused by Diddy. She received lots of backlash, lots of negative attention directed towards her, and a lot of people stated that she was just trying to find a payday. In fact, Diddy himself stated that. And just last week, a video resurfaced, in fact, showing that Cassie was in fact telling the truth. I did not watch the video because I did not want to feed into that re-traumatization. But I saw little clips and I saw enough to know that Cassie was not lying. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this video is because still, with evidence, people continue to say horrible things about Cassie. And my hopes is that this video will begin a series of educating the public on domestic violence and educate you all on the complex challenges that domestic violence victims face. As an advocate and as a survivor myself, I was saddened and appalled to read some of these comments, such as, "Unable to give a damn, please try again later." Another comment stated, "Girl, we don't care. She didn't either. She wanted money and got it, so let's move on. I'm tired of us giving sympathy to people who choose to stay in those situations." Another comment said, "It was an AI reenactment." Another comment stated, "They settled this already, no? 30 million settlement in 20 hours. Another comment read, "Diddy need to be in jail, but Cassie was there for the money. She wasn't a victim. She knows what she was doing, and when she had enough money, she dipped." Now, these were all comments from women. And that is what is the most hurtful part, that women are bashing other women. And I don't want to bash any women, but instead, I want to offer education to empower us as women and to be able to support a victim or to be able to understand the factors that keep women in abusive relationships. So tonight, I'm going to be sharing with you all some of the most common reasons why women stay. I won't discuss all of them. I will be discussing this over a series depending on how long I decide to make the video. Will be dependent on how many videos I will make, while also sharing my own story of survival. So let's get started. I got married to my ex-husband when I was 19 years old. And at that time, my self-esteem and self-worth was extremely damaged. And I didn't know that at the time, but when I met him, I was already a mother. I had my son when I was 15 years old from an 18-year-old who had never been in his life. And looking back at it, I realized how damaged my self-worth was, how easily I was manipulated to have sexual relationships with an adult while I was myself still a child. And that, my friends, is possibly a topic for another video. I won't be talking about that. So I met my ex-husband in my sophomore year. I was pregnant without even knowing it. In fact, he was the one who took me to the clinic to find out that I was pregnant. He was very supportive, very encouraging. He was always very respectful, very loving, and he was always present for me. He wanted to be more than just friends, but I never saw him as more than just a friend. In fact, I was never physically attracted to him. Therefore, I never even considered him. But he was always there for me as a friend. So I leaned on him for a lot of things. And when I would have breakups, he was there for me. He lent a shoulder to cry on. He would cheer me up. And again, always tried to pursue me to have a relationship with him. He was relentless. And at that time, I thought, how cute. Looking back, that was a major red flag. But eventually, I ended up dating him while I knew that I didn't love him. But I decided, Anel, you've given all these other bad boys a chance. Why don't you give the good guy a chance? So I did. We dated for a few months, and then lo and behold, I got pregnant. So here I was at 19, or maybe 18 at that time. Can't remember exactly. But I was pregnant for my second child, from my second baby daddy. Now, I thought to myself, this is number one, y'all. I stated one of the reasons, which is damaged self-worth and damaged self-esteem. And another reason was my distorted thoughts. I had these distorted thoughts of who's going to want me with 2 kids. I am not lovable. I am not deserving. And I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. So I figured, let me go ahead and marry him. And I hoped and I told myself, maybe one day you will fall in love with him. From the very beginning, I was unfaithful. I was unfaithful throughout the 10 years that we were married, or 11 years that we were married, because I was always looking for something to fill the void. Now, I stayed for lack of self-worth, damaged self-esteem, distorted thoughts. I stayed for my children, and I kept getting pregnant and kept getting pregnant. Eventually, I had 3 daughters with him. And after every pregnancy, it would be harder and harder. Now, the violence didn't start off escalated. It slowly escalated. I don't recall exactly the first time. I remember on one occasion, early on in our marriage, he shoved me against the wall. I remember on another occasion, he forcefully held me down. And one day, it escalated to him actually putting hands on me. And this was after he had discovered that I had been unfaithful. So in that moment, I believed that it was my fault, that I deserved it, and that it wasn't that bad because he didn't leave any marks on me, any bruises on me, and he apologized. So a big part of me was hopeful, which is another reason why women stay, is that they want to be a savior. And that savior in me kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. Because as I was unfaithful, I believed it was my fault. He would apologize. I was hopeful, and he would promise that it would never happen again. And a part of me wanted to believe him. A part of me wanted to believe that I had not, in fact, made a terrible decision and chosen an abusive man as my husband. I didn't want to believe that this abusive, narcissistic man was the father of my children. So I stayed. And I lied to myself year after year that it wasn't that bad, that he would get better. And as he went to the military and would get worse, he would come back and drink, and things would escalate. One day it got so bad that he actually choked me. Another night, he dragged me while I was pregnant from the bedroom, I remember, through the hallway. My kids witnessed it and were crying, were screaming. Eventually, the cops were called. He ended up getting arrested. This was not the first time he was arrested. But you all, I want you to understand that I was not, nor am I, a naive woman, but I stayed for reasons that you may not understand, but I felt that was my only option because I had damaged self-worth, a low self-esteem. I stayed because of the children. He was the main income earner. I also stayed because I had this belief that was ingrained in me since I was young that divorce wasn't an option. And I wanted to make it work. I didn't want to quit. I didn't want another divorce in my family. And as our marriage kept going, I was more emotionally invested. I was more mentally invested. I was more invested. And I always had this hope that he would change. I always had this mindset of he didn't mean it. He loves me. He promised he wouldn't do it again. But he's the father of my children. But who's going to want me with one child, with two children, with three children, with four children especially? He took me in having a child. He accepted me when nobody else did. Guys, I need you all to understand domestic violence is so much deeper than what you all believe. And my hope with this video is for you to understand some of the common reasons why women stay. And in Cassie's situation, I have no idea. I don't know her. And yet I empathize with her. Because even though I don't know exactly what she was feeling, what she was thinking, I can imagine what she was going through. And despite her having the money, maybe, I don't know, she didn't have the self-worth. Maybe she didn't respect herself. Maybe she herself grew up in a violent relationship. So I'm going to continue this conversation next week, and I'm going to educate you on red flags. I'm going to educate you on how to advocate for women. I'm going to provide resources for you all in hopes that you too can become an advocate. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for your continued support and for allowing me to share this message with you all.